Hi there. This is your Sensei Bob, and I'm going to read you some of my writings just to get you into the spirit of things. This is your Sensei Bob, and you're being brought to you by your friendly Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Bob channel on YouTube. And it's all for laughs and giggles. This is all about entertainment. It's all about Hollywood, da 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 da, Hollywood. And you know that holly is that branch that goes into, spellbinding magic wands. So here we are. Let's see, maybe we'll get bigger. Why not? Boo, 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 boo. Boo, 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 boo. Do, 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 do. Boo, 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 boo. Right. Oh. Yep, here we are. Boo, 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 boo. Love is God. God's love for its creation is all our relations, birthright. Our faith in God's love, Job, is love's enterprise. Great illuminated ones like the Nazarenes are masters of alchemy's quality, operating within energy framework of love's cohesion, adhesion, and magnetism. This is a very principle of love's co-creation, transfer of transformational energy. That is love, is the science of alchemy. For without love, it is impossible to create matter. It is love's law that without love, nothing cannot create something except empty illusion of a covenantless, egocentric, non-existent material reality that is experienced as hell on earth. Words from the teacher Saint Germain. Do 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 do. It's Hollywood. Do 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 do. Hollywood. Do 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 do. Boo boo boo. We are going to hop, skip, and love our way past humanity's suicidal, mad, angry, rushing selfishness of today's egocentric, nihilistic beau monde. We will not be overpowered by this nightmare that is staring our soul into devotional submission of spiritual devotionary death by meat puppet materialism. You guys can read along here. I'm just reading it out loud, and I only have four teeth, so a few of the consonants and vowels may slip by. So do your will. Well, I do like Raymond. Never give up, never give in. We will do love's will. We will love in love's love. For love is God, and with God's love, we can do everything needed to bring on love's rising epic. Here we are standing in heaven, paradise, Eden, Shangri-La, and just on the other side of the egocentric arbor is hell in all its advertised infamy. Do 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 do. Just read along. Ba 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 ba. Boo do 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 do. Trans Enterprise, yes. Well, the word God means demon. The word Lord means Baal or Satan. Whoa. All you got to do is kind of do a little homework on the old, learn Hebrew, then realize that the Hebrew alphabet, each letter is a number, every word is an equation. Then you kind of study Kabbalah, right? And that's, old Hebrew alchemy. Just keep reading along. If you go onto my blog spot, xratted.blogspot.com, you will come to these, right? And I'm just kind of letting you read along. Hopefully you can read. It is in English, it's not in Hebrew. Uh, and this is the first cut, right? And it's got that Star Wars thing going on here. I'm kind of going slow. So this part of the story is, if you read it, is about the 2012 Rainbow Gathering, right? And I used to be very involved in the Rainbow Gatherings, and I kind of got tired of the same old same, right? Like Freud said, do the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome. You know, I had some really dear friends. I had some great experiences. I did things in the early days that, are stories of great heroes. It's almost like the Greeks. It's almost like Homer. The things we did in the early days of the Rainbow Gathering, it's almost like Homer. But then once 2010 showed up, 11, 12, it was just, we're just going through the same dance over and over and over and over. And we're deluding ourselves. So 2012 was the last gathering I went to. And this was it. So you go back and read it at your own. Go to xratted.blogspot.com, and you will get there, right? So here we go. I'm going to read this out loud, and you read along, because this is a story of great importance and depth, right? Memories, the snake goddess in the four corners of New Mexico. And this was, the intro is my teacher, Grandfather David, one of the elders of the Keepers of the Hopi prophecy. And I was there in spirit with all my friends, all my relations. Even though it was just me, I had a crew, and people would come and visit, and we'd do ceremony. And this was him talking to us. In the fullness of life, man can hardly fear death. It is as natural to die as to be born. Thus, now we stand at a point in our alchemical studies where we must understand the meaning of the mortification of the body of our non transmuted life without love's co creation. And to a little infant, birth is as painful as death. Those were the words, quote, Grandfather David. And as he would say, words of my teacher, Saint Germain. And he actually knew Saint Germain. And V was a friend of mine. And if you had read the bit that I was kind of thumbing through, you would have seen the story, you know. And he wanted to know why I didn't come to the gatherings anymore, why I wasn't part of the inner circle, why we weren't hanging out. And I said, you know, I still love you guys. It's just that I can't. And, you know, V and I knew each other. Feeling can fade, but memories don't. People die, but memories don't. We all have a special memory talent. Some of us have a photographic memory of written words. You rainbow memory talent, you rainbow memory talent is to be able to share feelings in time melting long past, as if it was just a moment, and that just happened. No matter any specific date, on the southwest slopes of Mount Taylor, the snake goddess in the four corners. And Grandfather David was viewing the rainbow family as a potential, you know, a new thing that could save humanity. Not so much, you know. There were moments when I thought, yes, you know, but not so much. And so this was February 14th, 1971. Happy birthday, young Al. We have time. I have to teach you 30 generations of knowledge in 3 weeks. Let's get it in dream time. And that's where we would do a lot of ceremony. I would, every night when I slept, after work, we would go into dream time. And every day I had off, we would be out in the mesas, in the mountaintops, doing ceremony. We were three in the four corners of New Mexico, 1971, Grandfather David's, the spiritual keeper of the Hopi prophecy, Turtle Sweat Lodge, where Grandfather David had a vision of a new tribe of rainbow adepts, warriors. And that's kind of what I'm hoping that the shock troops of love's co-creation can be. That would bring forth love's redemptive freedom to all our relations. That is where all, and these are my friends who were there in dream time. V, Sherry, B, D, GB, Plunkett, Philippe, Philip, I can't pronounce it with three T's, and myself, young Al, came together and started the Rainbow Family of Living Light. Well, it was kind of started before then, but this was the vision that Grandfather David had. Young Al, what you and your tribe learned from us just helps you remember your connection to where faith is love's innocent spirit of atonement, is heard in one's sacred drum of the heart, along with beat of all our relations. Being able to feel this frame of reference, that's the shamanic frame of reference, gives our soul the precious light, meaning the photonic light, of understanding love's innocent spirit of atonement, which is the only path that shall free the children of love from will's ego illusion of hate, fear, and self-loathing, of not being nourished by love's innocent spirit of atonement. So it is our memory of the spoken word heard, of love's forgiveness within the beat of the sacred heart, which is the drum, that gives we the people of the human race the strength of our faith in love's innocent spirit of atonement to make all things as they should be, no matter where we might find ourselves. The misuse of free will has become the law of the land of those who have self-serving agendas that have enslaved love's reality within an artificial expendency of pain, violence, ignorance, and karmic servitude, causing all misery that humanity has suffered. This only happens with each of our giving up our Creator's love for each of us. We in the material world have been sold a bill of goods that has an interest payment way too high, the loss of our mortal soul. Heaven is not a place to go. Heaven is a state of mind, a consciousness that we create with every breath of the seven sacred flames we take. Heaven is a dimension that inhabits us. And if you go to xratted.blogspot.com, one of the six cuts is about the sacred flames, each ray, right? The seven rays. And then there's the story of Ray that resides within each of our sacred hearts, giving ourselves up to these attributes in every day and every way. We open the channels to receive the deeper understanding of cosmic laws of our Creator's unconditional, miraculous love for all of the I am creations and our place in the miraculous love. Seek to lift the veil of mortal illusion and reconnect with the miraculous and the power of the original intent of God's unconditional miracles of love for our eternal journey into the greater purpose and destiny of the I am miraculous, of the unconditional love. Our true and deeper truth to this is our I am's need for our intimate involvement in our universe's continued alchemical physical evolution of our spiritual metaphors. The most powerful tool we have is humbly gracious heart full of prayer for help in overcoming our karmic servitude, moving forward in words unto freedom's higher self. We have all the time of the universe to accomplish this, and yet we can have heaven on earth in a twinkle of an eye. By simply living each moment within love's miraculous as the true reality of our existence. And those were the words of Grandfather David's vision for the rainbow family of living light. Well, that was 1971, and it quite hasn't happened. It actually has kind of de-evolved because back when he saw this vision, it was just me, and he saw my friends, right? And he saw us being that, and pretty much it hasn't happened. Pretty much everyone has, they all have it in their heart. They all feel, because we've gone through so much together, that they have the drumbeat of love's co-creation. But they are been, kind of, what's the right word? Distracted, right? By whatever they're doing. And that's part of life. We have eternity to experiences. I'd much rather us come and make this happen, because see, what happens is the good old, hidden hand wants to wipe out the human race, take us down to 500 million, where they, the 200,000 or so of the marginal managerial class who think they rule, but they don't, and that, 1,000 or so of the owners, right? And they don't own shit, They just think they do because they are minions of Lucifer, And Lucifer is, all children of God. So, as you can read, let's see, we'll go back and read that because V was sitting next to me at the gallery, right? And we were both in state. We were, burning a bowl, and he always has the best. And he knew I was sick, and and he and I were, along with the others of that clan, there were about 8 of us, 10 of us, and really 20 of us, who we communicated telepathically over thousands of miles. So V was always my friend and always with me, but I hadn't seen him since 1971. No, that was in the Four Corners. This is 2012, where the lighter, where it says V blinked his eyes. That was 2012, and he went from. We were both in state, and we were both at Grandfather David's vision, at his turtle lodge, and he saw these people. I mean, they weren't there, but he was talking to them in state, and this is in 2012 when V says to me, V blinked his eyes, coming back from all those years ago in Grandfather Turtle's sweat lodge. It's good to sit here with you, my brudger owl, and just bake. V blinked his red, bloodshot eyes, now with tears streaming down his cheeks. I miss you. What we shared at Grandfather's Turtle's sweat lodge on your birthday in 71 makes us more than family. I miss you. How come you don't come to the Nationals anymore? I miss you. We miss you. We can't do this without you. With a lump in my heart the size of a brick, I could barely speak. V, when Rita died. And that's when we go to what I want to read. I want you to really share, because this is a story of my twin flame, the person who was most important to me, and what happened. And I wrote this on the day of 9/11, 2001, the day of the Twin Towers. I wrote this. Right? And I really didn't speak of this or think of it or I mean, I thought of this a lot, but I didn't speak of it to anyone. And on this day, I decided, okay, this is, the hidden hand, the powers that shouldn't be, the sock puppet neoconservatives. Okay, they're pushing the button. Well, I'm going to speak of this. So here we go. Love for Real, 9/11, 2001. On September 11th, 1988, exactly 13 years before America's advertised darkest day, I had my own darkest day. It included the loss of my beloved twin flame. She who was all that I truly loved in life. She who gave me life. Love's purpose was cruelly taken from my side. From our first night of intimate bliss, we were connected above the carnal plane. For after, when we embraced in the warm glow of loving relations, truth would come on to us in visions, mostly in word speak through my beloved. Voices would come from her mouth, mostly male and some feminine, all from time long forgotten, all speaking in tongues long dead, all save for Master Ashake. He from the first spoke in English, sounding very much like Mel Brooks as a Jewish African Yoda. He was our translator from beyond the veil. We were told that we were brought together to heal each other with love, for we each had service to perform independently of one another. But for 6 years, we cherished our time together. We could not be any different. She was an Italian princess born in Rome, her father, the Albert Einstein of diamond cutters. Coming to New York City when she was 10, her father to cut the Hope Diamond for Harry Winston, which he did. They almost died on the ill-fated voyage of the Andrea Doria, this bringing great media attention to her family, for the Hope Diamond had a curse on it. They seemingly overcame the curse by surviving the sinking at sea and her father successfully cutting the Hope Diamond. They were the toast of the town, wined and dined. They lost their way in alcohol and gambling. The family spiraled down through failure to death, leaving my love without a family and on the street at 17 with only her Catholic school uniform and her name. 15 years later, when we met, she had built a fashion empire. She went from Park Avenue to the street and then back to Park Avenue on her own. She took no shit from no one. She was hard as nails. She was a ray gun Republican with a twist. She really disliked and distrusted all people. They always disappointed her. I never did. From the first day, I always knew what she wanted and took care of it without having to be asked or told. For that I was her Lance Olot, in many ways than one. She was more than beautiful. She made men and women turn their heads. She was the woman that everyone would look at. She was on my arm, holding me tight, caressing me, whispering in my ear of things she wanted me to do to her, running her fingers through my long, straight hair. She was never clingy or jealous, for she knew she did not need to worry, for I was totally hers and she was mine. I had been married before. That was special. I always had incomparable girlfriends, but she was love's majestic miracle of creation, and we were made in heaven for each other. But this love had a shelf life. As I said, from our first night of love's majestic miracle of creation, love making, we had an audience, not in form but in spirit. They would wait patiently, their presence obviously one of the keys to our passion, frequency, and continuity. For after the heat cooled down to a warm glow, we would have class, where we were schooled in the esoteric arcane knowledge. Most teachers are mere instructors. Class, turn to page 3 and read blah, blah, blah. Ours were masters of the higher realms of the occult and explained what was in our stars, never telling us what to do, but giving clear advice on our virtuous choice for our path. I have free will, they would say, that as it was course. But if you follow our advice, love's majestic miracle of creation would be overjoyed. Now, how could you turn that down? But we seemed to not listen when it came to the subject of our parting. But our spirit guides would acquiesce to love. At first, we were only to be together for a few months, which turned into years. We were warned that the longer we stayed together, the more devastating our separation would be. In this, we did not heed the warning. We were content to play house, where she had everything in place and I had nothing in place. But I more than tried to look good. And why wouldn't I? She made all my clothes that I wore with her for me. Silk shirts, linen pants, leather jackets. I never went home in my work clothes. I would shower and change at work into clothes she laid out for me that morning. Once she came to one of my job sites with an Italian leather jumpsuit she had made. It made me look like something out of Flash Gordon. She said that my work clothes were just too everything bad, and I don't mean bad good. After she left, all the other workers made fun of me on how I was so whipped, but I knew they wished they were whipped like I was. Then one day, a diagnosis of cancer took my happiness out of our little love nest. We went to bed that night with no spiritual place to hide. Within a matter of days, she was in the ICU, hooked up to life support. The sun set that day with a beep on her life force waning with every beep. Then the loud cry of the machine announcing her demise. I was left alone with her cold body, with only my warm tears to anoint her passing. Everything went dark with my grief. I was awakened from my misery by a bright light shimmering on me. I opened my eyes to see a large sphere of light floating in the ICU. A man's voice came from the sphere. It was Master Ashake. Young Al, you're not afraid, are you? He whispered. There were unusual properties about this light swirling in the sphere, and I began feeling exceptionally well. The light seemed to be passing through me and the cold corpse of my twin flame, correcting all things. Again, Master Ashake queried, You're not afraid, are you? No, I replied. I'm not afraid, only heartbroken. He said, None of this is meant to frighten you, only to educate you that love never dies. We talked for a long time outside of time on that night, but I was unable to see the man standing there for most of the visit. He asked me if I would come with him so that he might show something to me, and I did so. After accompanying him into the light, we walked on a summit in what I later identified as Qumran, Qumran. Go Google that. We entered a cave where an old but beautiful woman was waiting, and after meeting her, and with no further explanation, I was returned to my physical body. I was still in my twin flames ICU room. All around me, people were in a flurry of urgent activity. A nurse led me from the room out of the nearby waiting room. It's a miracle. I've never seen anything like this. We came back after leaving you with her dead to find that the monitor showed her vitals had returned and returned with great vitality. We have to do more tests, but she seems to be in complete remissions. It's a miracle. You've been through a lot. This lounge chair reclines. Why don't you see if you can get some sleep? I will come and get you if there is any change. But for now, things look miraculous, so breathe easy. With that, she gave me a strong hug. Being that close, I could feel tears on her cheeks and a glow of a special happiness of seeing loving miracles firsthand. Letting me go, I sank into the recliner. She eased me back, and I was fast on my way to unconsciousness as she placed a blanket around me. Shortly after this, I was able to see in my dream time the man still standing in the sphere of light. He was about 33, with a perfect facial features that constantly changed into different races and colors. He was wearing what appeared to be a sun-dried linen, and he had a fragrance of negative ions, myrrh, and spices. I had no idea who he was. Again, Master Ashake queried, Do you not recognize your teacher, young Al? Master, I hear and recognize your voice, but this is the first I have seen your form, and you seem to be shifting in that form one to another. Again, Master Akashike replied, I exist in and of time as all souls do, and when I am in human form, I incarnate as my karmic task demands. I have come as many different individuals, as all souls do. Within each incarnation, have followed my diharmonic path on the karmic wheel. But early in this journey, I was gifted with being freed from the veil of separation of spirit by the illusion of free will. But within spiritual grace comes fidelity to all those on the wheel of karma, to share the assets, to aid all those others who have further to go, and when the situation avails itself, to help those like you. And your twin flame, to make the cosmic leap, we do what we can. You both had traversed great hardships without losing your ability to live every day with God's miraculous love as the spirit of your primary experience. For that we brought you both together, to heal each other and prepare each of you for task ahead. This is one last thing we shall ask of you now, and it will be the hardest challenge that we have requested of you. This ordeal be a far, far greater adversity than you will have ever to do in this life. We are asking you to sacrifice your happiness with your little one in this life. For the happiness you now in this life, for your twin flame, if you choose to do this, you will be greatly in our esteem. By letting go of your twin flame, you shall not only contribute to the swift spiritual evolution of both of your souls, you will be helping countless other souls in their path forward by your example of self-sacrifice. Even though we warned you of staying with your twin flame, we knew that you would not leave her until a moment of great karmic angst, when the test of your mettle was at its utmost. You still live in the world of free will's separation, where you can still choose not to sacrifice for the universal good and hold on to her. I will not tell you that outcome, for the choice needs to be freely yours. I will leave you now to decide, but know this, we shall always be with you. We will always shall love and protect you. With that, the sphere of light surrounded him again, and the light swirled as through, blown by winds from within, and a huge eye came across the surface of the sphere. The last thing that my teacher left me with that day was, know this, cherished young owl, that which you may do today shall manifest something wonderful to happen. I woke from my fettered dream with a pain so deep, so profound in my heart, I could barely draw a breath. My shirt was drenched. At first I thought it was my own sweat. I then realized it was my tears, for I found myself sobbing. I never cried like this before. Are you all right? The nurse asked as she came into the room. I think so. She is asking for you. I arose with her help. Are you sure you're all right? She asked. You tell me. You're wet. You're sobbing, she said, somewhat amazed and embarrassed. Here, take that shirt off. Here's a towel. Dry off. We wouldn't want you to get a chill. As I did, as she commanded, she went off for a moment and returned with a scrub top and a can of soda. The sweetness of the bubbles of the drink helped me regain something of my composure. Have you collected yourself? The nurse asked as I hung the towel around my neck, attempting to dry my eyes. that still seemed to flood my face. With a torrent of emotion, holding my hand, the nurse led me across the hall back to the ICU, where I found my twin flame, more than alive. She was glowing with love's radiance of the miraculous redemption. That same glow that shone from Ashakai's presence within the vision dream was all within her. Everyone who surrounded her were basking in this same glow, not knowing what it was, though they knew it was a miracle. Propped up by a mound of pillows, she was sitting awake. She looked more than beautiful. She was astonishing. For the last I saw her, she was stone cold dead. Now, disconnected from all the machinery of the artificial life, she was glowing in the techno colors of love's tender happiness. Her arms outstretched to embrace me. I got in bed with her and held her as if it was my last time. Everything around us disappeared, and we kissed deep and long, becoming one in the miracle of love's embrace. We didn't notice the crowd leave until the nurse put her hand on us and said, "We all leave you now. You both seem to be okay. If you need anything, just use the call button. You both been to hell and back, so don't get too carried away. I have to say, this has changed all our lives. Everyone in the hospital has heard about it." And the nurse turned abruptly and said, as she left, "Now I can't stop crying." Bubba, that's what my twin flame called me. "Oh, I thought I was dead." I replied, "You were for 7 hours. They would have taken you away to the morgue, but I couldn't stop crying and holding your hand. You were so cold. You were stiffening up like you were freezing, turning to ice." She replied, "I was so not ready to die, but there I was in this bed, and I couldn't say anything with those tubes down my throat, breathing for me. I felt like those machines were sucking the life out of me. My vision started to go, and all I could see was your face, so full of pain and tears. So badly I wanted to hold you, to call out to you, to tell you how much I loved you. More than anything, I wanted to stay with you. I love you. I love you so much." She couldn't speak, for she was kissing me, and we were both crying, flooding one of her pillows with our salty love and tenderness. I absorbed our tears of exultation, and she continued to tell of her miraculous rebirth, and I continued to be happy just to be there, holding on to the warmth of my twin flame. She said I could do nothing but die, and then up on me a great light shone, and I awoke from the cold of death to a new sun rising within me. I knew I was dead, for I couldn't feel nothing and see nothing. Time did not seem to pass, but something was, my life in front of me. As I was awakening, I to the bright light shining on everything I had done in my life up to that moment. I knew there was more for me to do. All I could do was to think of you, and how much I loved you, and how much I missed you, and how much I wanted to get back to you. I had never felt so empty, for I could not feel you by my side, even though I knew you were there. For the thing that was warming me from the inside out were your tears. I opened my eyes to see a large sphere of light floating all around me. Its light was piercing the inky blackness of death. It created a circle of luminosity, faith, faint at first. I could only see that I was standing at the edge of a body of water. But as the light grew, the circle expanded, and I realized that the water was the river Jordan, and the ferry approached. As I looked down, I saw my reflection in the river. Illuminated from the floating sphere, there I was, an old but beautiful woman. I was waiting, I thought, for what? Then a man's voice came from the sphere. "You're not afraid, are you, little one?" he whispered. I heard this voice before, but I could not place it, for I no longer had eyes that I normally heard things with, or ear. I no longer had ears that I normally heard things with. There were unusual properties about this light swirling in the sphere, and I began feeling exceptionally well. The light seemed to be passing through me and correcting things. I no longer felt cold. I glanced down one more time at my reflection. I was once more youthful, but I was still that old lady. I was wearing a long coat covered of what looked like feathers, except they weren't feathers. They were ice crystals shaped to look like owl feathers. And because of that, I just knew the ice crystals were formed from your tears. I was being given a second chance, something I have never done for anyone. Then I heard the man's voice once again come from the sphere. "You're not afraid, are you, little one?" he whispered. Now I knew that voice. It was our teacher, Ashake. "No, master," I replied. "I'm not afraid." "Good," he said. "None of this is meant to frighten you, little one. We talked for a long time that night before my new dawning, but I was unable to see the man standing there for most of the visit. He asked me if I would come with him so that he might show something to me, and I did so. After accompanying him into the light, we walked on a summit in what I later identified as Comorum. We entered a cave where I met you, my love, and I knew that I was coming back to you, my love. We waited in silence, and after meeting you in the cave and with no further explanation, I was returned to my physical body here in the ICU. Shortly after this, I took a breath, my heart started, and I was back into my body. The alarms went off again, but thankfully all of the machines had been taken from my body. My body was working on its own. The medical minions rushed to probe and poked me as they shined the lights in my face. I saw that nice nurse lead you out. At that moment, I lost attention to my surroundings, and then I was able to see the man still standing in the sphere of light. He was about 33, with the perfect facial features that constantly changed into different races. He was wearing what appeared to be a sun-dried linen, and he had a fragrance of negative ions, myrrh, and spices. I had no idea who he was. Again, Master Akasha Kekwar, do you not recognize your teacher, little one? Master, I hear you and recognize your voice, but this is the first time I have seen your form. And you seem to be shifting in that form one to another. Again, Master Akasha Kekwar, I exist in and out of time as all souls do. And when I'm in human form, I incarnate as my karmic task demands. I have come as many different individuals as all souls do. I, within each incarnation, have followed my dharmic path on the karmic wheel. But early in this journey, I was gifted with being freed from the veil of separation. Freed from the veil of the separation of spirit by the illusion of free will. But within spiritual grace comes fidelity to all those on the wheel of karma, to share and assist, to aid all those others who have further to go. And when the situation avails itself to help those like you and your twin flame to make a cosmic leap, you both have traversed great hardships without losing your ability to live every day with God's miraculous love as the spirit of your primary experience. For that, we brought you both together to heal each other and prepare each other of you for tasks ahead. There is one last thing we shall ask of you now, and it will be the hardest challenge that we have requested of you. This ordeal will be a far, far greater adversity than what you have just traversed, or that you will have to ever do in this life. We are asking you to sacrifice your happiness with your your twin flame owl in this life. For that happiness now in this life, for yours and your twin flame's spiritual advancement. If you choose to do this, you will be greatly in our esteem. By letting go of your twin flame, you shall not only contribute to the swift spiritual evolution of both of your souls, you will be helping countless other souls in their path forward by your example of your sacrifice. Even though we warned you of staying with your twin flame, we knew that you would not leave him until a moment of great karmic angst. When the test of your mettle was at its utmost. You still live in the world of free will's separation, where you can still choose not to sacrifice for the universal good and hold on to him. I will not tell you that outcome, for the choice needs to be freely yours. I will leave you now to decide, but know this, we shall always be with you. We will always shall love and protect you. Within that, the sphere of light that surrounds me. Within that, the sphere of light that surrounded me, again, the light swirled as though blown by winds from within, and a huge eye came across the surface of the sphere. The last thing that I heard from our teacher, know this, cherished little one, that which you may do today shall manifest something wonderful to happen. I woke from my fettered dream with a pain so deep, so profound in my heart, I could barely draw a breath. My hospital gown was drenched. At first, I thought it was my own sweat. I then realized it was my tears. For I found myself sobbing. I had never cried like this before. The medical minions felt I was in some form of distress and were ready to hook me up to those death machines. Before they could act, I raised my hand to stop them, and in a clear voice I told them all I need was a towel, a cold soda, some O2, and you. Go get my Bubba, my darling Al. That nice nurse went in to get you, and in time it took to get you to me, I made myself all nice for you. She then kissed me again, long and sweet, as we nuzzled in each other's arms without speaking of the big elephant in the room. My love had come back from the dead 7 hours from the fact. We had both experienced the other side together, both pulled up way past the illusion of separation of the me puppet reality of king and religion. We were given the choice that is this reality of free will never gives. Not even close. Not that one could prepare oneself for. We were given a choice more on the gravity of the moon pulling the ocean around the planet. Yes, we would have to go our separate ways. Without speaking of this choice, we decided to leave it up to the higher power to work out the details. So we just kissed sweetly and left everything go. I have never worried about anything since that day. I have let the universe miraculously state of loves navigate my life. We went forward at the fork in the road of spirit. For a good thing, for the good of things greater than our separate wills, we chose our higher spirit's path. From that point on, we would have to live in this meat puppet world apart, but we would never be alone, for we saved our soul's spirit without extinguishing our twin flame. Our love, we were given the right to talk to each other, and we don't even need to use a phone, for our hearts are still twin flames. When one's love's love is like that, that love is indestructible. Its love, its passion cannot be extinguished by the illusion of the meat puppet separation of sex. More than 24 years have passed since we were both reborn. I am the light of our master's love. We both have social lives. We both have gray hair. And when I see her in my mind's eyes, visionary mirror, she was always wearing her long coat of my father's tears. I took a deep breath, and I felt the sad sorrow of my heart breaking once again. I saw in V's eyes that looked like two shimmering pools of our deep pain of loss. V, it's more than I choked up. It's more than I choked up. All of my pain from being taken from my loves came boiling up and overcoming me. It had been 24 years, 6 months, and 13 days, and 11 hours from that moment of my soul's greatest pain. I thought I had armored myself, but I started to sob uncontrollably. V grabbed me and hugged on me as he lost his own emotions. Al, I'm so sorry. I should have known. I miss her too. As much as I miss you, and when I think of you, and I hear and her not together, I feel so sad. V and I were sobbing, hanging on for dear life, when D and Hey Lady strolled down the path from 2.0, finding V and I in our vulnerable state. They both came over, kneeled down, and hugged V and I, and with love's love, Dee retrieved her day pack, pulled out a flask. There we were doing it to the rainbow way. Unconditionally love, hugs, self-medication. Dee took the bottom of my Thundercats t-shirt and cleaned my face. She asked, so what got you two guys started? I replied, it's just so good to be here with you and the family. After so many years, it's just like yesterday that we were sitting in Grandfather Turtle's sweat lodge, baking in the love of the stones, and thinking and talking about things most don't talk or think about, or want to talk or think about. We lived in a way that most could not relate to. We took an oath and change the world with love's redemption. A concept alien to the world of hell's enterprise. Our parents, our siblings, our friends, Our co-workers in the Meat Puppet 3D, hellish, non-real, advertised reality, they didn't have a clue about our path of redemption in love's living love, and about our experience, and the rest of the Meat Puppet still don't. And V, how he has run legibly legal for real for the presidency of the United States 3 times, just running and getting on the ballot in 40 states is a major accomplishment. But when I see him on TV with a boot on his head and people making fun of him while he is trying to free the public from their oppression in their mind and body with humor, that boot is the jackboot of hell's materialistic slavery that has our whole planet imprisoned in belief that humanity is ready to kill itself. V then just said, "It's about Rita." Dee turned head, looked at me full on, her eyes swimming, reflective, with tears that streamed, and then, "Hey, lady," said like only "Hey, lady" would say, "But Al, why didn't you leave us? Why did you leave us when we needed you most? And who is Rita?" All I could say was, "Really?" Each day I realize and phone home. I have no money, no TV, no internet, no telephone, no electricity. I had a visitor ask me once what I did with myself, having none of this. Did not I get bored? I said I spent all my free time praying. They said, "For what?" I said, "For my redemption with my actions in every day and in every way, to bring forth the miracles of love's creation, of peace and happiness." That is what I pray for. I mean, I wake up each morning in screaming pain, a little more dead, and prayer brings me back into love's love, reconnecting me to all that truly matters: peace, love, and understanding. Bob loves it when you phone home like that. I pray 5 to 19 times a day. Every time I look at a digital clock and see seen synchronistically something like 9:09, 10:10, 11:11, 12:12, 1:01, 2:02, 3:03, et al., etc. This is when I call home. And the boys and girls always pick up. Jesus always is telling me, "Tell others everything you have seen and heard." She says that, and then he smiles. I used to say, "But no one is going to believe this." It explained that I was not being asked to convince people, but merely to tell them what I had witnessed and what I have heard over the years. It has gotten easier to accept nonlinear time like Flanagan's Slaughterhouse 5. I could tell I was going in and out of linear time as those around me were experiencing my temporal transhumanance. It just weren't those who knew and loved me with deep empathy and compassion that were somewhat sharing my vision. Folk like Hey Lady, who wanted to believe but still stuck in 2D, hung up on the distractions. What else was I expecting? We were all as distracted, even if we feel so high, hippie, holy. The Rainbow Gathering is more than a movie. The good, the bad, the ugly is just like Job, Donald Daffy Duck, with an angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other. And each of us is right in the medieval having to choose nanosecond to nano, which we will be. And right then I was someone where else I had little bit of me everywhere and in everyone at the same gravitational moment of time At the point there was no more time, but all knowing I was within everyone, and I could contain everyone's feelings and thoughts. VD just stopped and turned and looked at Hey Lady, and in unison thought, oh, sweetie, you don't get it. But Hey Lady did. I could feel it. The real deal was we high hippie holies with our preconceived notions of how our prejudices of what we knew was the real deal weren't getting it. It was as I could feel. We who see anyone as the other, we don't have a clue. We, the they, don't get it, sweetie. Hey Lady, without skipping a beat, was talking, going on with her story without any idea of what we three were experiencing or irrelevantly projecting on her, just for something she said without knowing the context, something we high hippie holies didn't realize we measly humans do all the time. And I was getting it. I was getting the return call from Bob. Welcome home, young Al. See the miracle? Hey Lady text, the real deal, the miracle. It was Ithaca gathering. It was my first one. I had been on the road for years, spare changing. This is Hey Lady talking. The Grateful Dead show, parking lots. I had gotten raped, I think, in Albany or Buffalo. I was pretty much wasted in those days. I was hanging out with some A Camp Road dogs. Well, I woke up in the back of a pickup truck in a pile of garbage. I was pretty much naked as I was trying to get out of the back of the truck. I slid in the mud. The whole meadow was mud. I could not walk a step without falling back in the mud. It was that slippery, and I was that drunk. I felt dirty, ashamed, which was pretty much how I think movie marquee. It said, Rainbow Welcome Home Bliss Bunny Shower and Gear. Free box camp. There was a line off more than 10 hot and cold water showers, and my angel sisters took me into the amazing, just right hot shower, scrubbed me and themselves down, and to our newborn again skin with Dr. Bronner's soap and a loofah. Then we found some free box clothes for all three of us and a Bliss Bunny starter set, a clean quart yogurt container, a large wooden spoon, and a rainbow 411. We then went up the first greenway. That was a never-ending wide path of luscious mowed lawn I had ever seen. This emerald green cut the most heavily path through the golden meadow that had to be owned by rich people golf club god. It looked like the closest thing to heaven I had ever seen. And then there was an open gate without doors to keep people like me out. That was formed by roses and other bushes and flowers spelled out, Welcome Home. I started to cry with tears of joy. This was the first time in my life I had ever felt good while I was crying. I asked again, I asked my angel sisters, am I in heaven? Did I die in the mud pit? Text words of Hey Lady. Okay, let's see. So, that was a bit of my writings for you to read. Yep. Yep, Vermin Supreme. Yep, my buddy V. One time, V and I guess it was the Pennsylvania gathering, we did a Abbott and Costello. right? And he had the disco ball. I had a disco ball. And we put it on a big stick, and I carried it around, and he would twist it, and we would, pretend we were in a disco, and we would go around with a big, gallon bucket, and people threw money in, and we were the banking council, just him and I, and also Red Bear. Because he was the one, he was a banker, right? He was the guy who used his name and social security number to start a council checking account so we could put the money in there. Because lots of people gave us checks for $10,000, $15,000. Not lots, but a number of people did, angels. And once the gathering got going, we were gathering up, 30 to 40 grand a day and going around the camp just cracking jokes and making fun and holding out the bucket. And that bought all the food, all the medicine, all the gas, all the, bailing people out of jail. And that's how the Rainbow Gathering works. And once the gathering starts, you get 20,000 people. If everyone threw in $1, that's $20,000. And so that's how I know Vermin. And then when I kind of got hoodwinked, but it's a good thing, good hoodwink, into facilitating the Ithaca gathering. And because I had so much time and so much support, and I had gone into the powers that be, and because I saw how if you don't have the powers that be in that neighborhood behind you, they can really make it a nasty thing. I had experienced many nasty gatherings, and I had experienced many really blessed ones. And the blessed ones were early on when we would walk deep into the forest where police couldn't drive. And if police don't drive, they're not there, right? So anyway, the Ithaca gathering, I went to this lady's house. A friend of mine took me, and they were all like screaming at each other, about 12 people there. And they had all gone to the national, the summer before. And this was, January-ish. And I didn't tell them to come here, you told them, And what had happened was they were all doing acid, and they were all feeling blissed out, and they invited the nationals to come to, Ithaca. Well, the rainbow politics didn't allow that to happen, but the Ithaca, site was right between where the Grateful Dead was doing their last show in Boston and, Illinois or wherever it was, down the road from 91. And Ithaca was like right in the schmack middle. So people would drive about 300 miles or 500 miles and then want to stop someplace. And that's where they said, oh, we'll have a gathering where you can come and stay and then go on to the national, like a regional. So anyway, all of these people were bourgeois. They all had families and jobs and businesses and careers, and they didn't want to be known as, stinking acid hippies. And so where I was a love child, flower creature. Anyway, so we basically, I went in there with my friend, and they're all screaming at each other, blaming each other for, this catastrophe is about to happen. 20,000 hippies to descend on the college town of, Ithaca, New York. So anyway, my friend goes, here's my friend Al. He's a well-seasoned rainbow, facilitator, and he volunteers to facilitate this gathering and make it happen. And everyone said, he said, and I put forth this, and does anyone second it? They all seconded it, and they said, okay, do we all consent? They all consent, and they all ran out. And I left my friend who was just howling, laughing, because he had just like hoodwinked me into this. And I was left there at this lady's house. Her name was Kamala. And she was a very sweet person, And she looked at me and saw the look of shock, like on my face, and goes, so you're not really volunteering, are you? And I said, it seems I am. And she goes, well, I'll help you out. I see this joker over here kind of just hoodwinked you into this because he's laughing so hard. And I say, yeah. That's what they call a friend. He goes, hey, I'll help out too. Honest. And I said, okay, that's three of us, And she goes, I have two other sisters who will, assist. And I said, okay. Well, it's January. We have all the way until June, really, to figure this out. So I'm going to go. I was in a place, Cornell University, where I had access to every kind of information under the sun. So, I went off to do my homework. And my friend, he was, he was a Mohawk. He was, part of the Iroquois Nation. And he was, like a nephew of grandfather David of the Iroquois Nation. He was the elder, of Anyway, so I started doing my homework, and how rainbow gatherings work is that they're done in national forests because the national forest you can go up and camp anywhere you want, right? And you can stay there 30 or 40 days, and if the you know a Forest Service guy comes by and says, "Hey, what are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm camping." He gives you a little like permit, but not really. Just a slip saying, "This is your name, this is your address, this is your phone number, this is the date. You got 30 days to move it, and you can just move your tent like 10 feet over there, and that's fine. You give me another 30 days." So as long as you're not really, they just want to know who's there and that you're not ruining anything, and that otherwise that's okay. So the way the rainbow gathering works is that we would come back in the day, we would show we consensus around Thanksgiving time when the national gathering was going to be, and you know they'd pick a site, and just a general site like a bioregion, and then they'd send the scouts out, and the scouts would find the best site. And around June, or beginning of June, or maybe May, they kind of decide and start, being more serious about one or two sites. By the end of May, they would decide, and then kind of start letting it out to people. And then the seed camp people would show up. Well, if the facilitators of those regions were smart, they would contact the powers that be, the county sheriff, the state troopers, the Forest Service people, and kind of work with them and negotiate the best that you could get. Right. So I knew this. I had that experience. So I'm looking around, and in New York State, there are no national forests because the Dutch, who gathered there, did not conquer the Indians. They, if you go see the movie Last Mohegans, it takes a pretty good picture of what it was like. They basically married into all the families, right? So anyway, so I just, I realized, okay, there are no national forests, so we got to, plan B. So I go to my friend who's the Mohawk. I said, okay, plan B. He goes, well, obviously we have to go see Grandfather David. He'll help us out. So, okay. So we go see Grandfather David. And Grandfather David is, really a nice elderly guy, really smart. And he looks, as Dutch, he's got blonde hair, blue eyes, battery low. Ugh. Okay. So I'm going to plug my little charger in here. And if my phone goes off, well, that's it, right? You had a nice little experience, and that'll be that. But if it keeps going, I'll continue the story of the Ithaca gathering. And hey, lady, I will marry into that moment, Okay, we'll plug that in. Let's see what happens here. Do, 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 do. Are we still here? We still Memorex? Is anyone there? All of that storytelling and reading. Let's see. 10 by 4. Okay. Good. I'm still here. So I go to Grandfather David and my friend, his nephew, and we talk and we sit and we smoke the pipe and have tea. And he goes, well, I think I have an answer for you. Really? He goes, yes, there's this really sacred land we have, and it's about 1,000 acres. And we collectively farm on it. And we have, because, the whole Finger Lakes area is basically dairy farms. So he goes, we have 5 big meadows, each 200 acres big. Then we have about 300 acres, of forest. And then we have some other ancillary, and it's all there, and it's cornered by two county roads, and a very large county road ties into one of them, which goes to the interstate. So 91 hits this road that goes from Trumansburg to where it's a big race thing where it goes around and around in a circle, and they have big concerts there. They had a big concert there that was bigger than Woodstock. The name will pop into my mind. Anyway, he goes, we that space, the federal government, because it was so sacred, they put it into the National Forest Register. So it actually is a national forest that has a higher rating. So no one can come in and log it or do anything to do a national forest. It's our sacred land. We have total control, but it is protected by the National Forest Service. So we go, cool. So he goes, there's the site. We give you permission. You can do it. I said, okay. So we get in his international, and we drive out there, and he drives us around the site, and it's perfect. I mean, it is frigging perfect. And so they got these meadows, and what they do is one meadow they grow grass and cut it and bale it, and cut it and bale it, and another they grow feed like corn for the animals, another they grow other things, and they rotate all of that. And one they just let the animals, the year the meadow that the year past was, grassed and cut and grassed and cut and grassed and cut. That's the one, it grows up, and they let the cows go chomp on that and throw bales every now and then out to, Anyway, so that's the site, right? And I got pictures of it. I might even, I don't know now, but I will grab it and show you pictures, maybe tomorrow. Anyway, so, and that was, around February, when we came this, and we, got one of his nephews was Onondaga Ray. He was a Forest Service guy, and high up in the Forest Service too. He was not just an underling; he was, one of the top three. And so we all shook. He brought in the paperwork. We all signed it up, and that was that. And then I said, "Okay, Ray, what I need from you, I need you to tell me who are all the, who is the head guy, who's the sheriff, who's the county person, who is the state trooper, who is, all of those people." And so he made a list and name and their phone numbers. And I said, I want you to give them the 411 that I want a meeting, right? And then which one of those is, he goes, well, the person who's really the head dude will be the sheriff, right? Because his, one of his brothers is mayor, of Trumansburg, and his other brother is the mayor, Watkins Glen. That was the name of it. And they have all the big vineyards. They're the Power family, and his cousin owns the two gas stations that are right off the road that they will turn off the county road to go up to the site. So if you get him on board, then that's going to be the bomb, right? So I said, okay. So what's his phone number? So he gave me his office phone number, and I said, can you, like, Monday, call these guys up and tell them it's the 411, and tell that guy I will try and get him a call that week. And, when you're giving them the 411, try and get everyone to pencil in a meeting for the next week. And he said, okay, I can do that. So he does that. And so Wednesday rolls around, and I call this guy up, and I introduce him. I give him my real name, not my rainbow name, but my real name. And so, and my social security number, my phone number, my address, everything about me, my driver's license number, everything. And, and I have it all right in front of me, and I give it to him, and he just starts laughing. And he goes, after Ray told me, I kind of went to the FBI, the Forest Service, the Secret Service, and looked up you guys. And some of them say, "Oh, they're pretty cool," and others said, "Oh, they're scumbags, they're evil, they're terrible." And so I knew the thing was somewhere in between. And so here you are, and he goes, "What are you, a policeman? Did you ever work?" I go, "No, but I am a scholar, and I have, often, done studies for the powers that shouldn't be." And he started to laugh. Powers that shouldn't be? Yeah, so the people in charge shouldn't be in charge. Oh, come on, you know better than me. And so he started laughing again. He goes, "I think I'm going to like you." And I said, "So, did you guys figure out what day next week you want to get it together?" "Yeah, yeah, about a week from today. And here's my address, and why don't you come around 11, and we'll have a nice little meeting, and then maybe we'll go have lunch." And I said, "Sounds good to me. See you then." And I said, "And you got everything you ever want to know about me, and so go check me out." And he said, "Oh, I will." So week later, so I go to Cam and I say, "Okay, where are the sisters you want to?" Right, and she has these two beautiful, again, flower children. And so Cam is like got a she's a crafts kind of person, and she makes hammocks and chairs and all kinds of interesting campy kind of stuff that she can weave or sew or manufacture. And she's got, she's actually, this is 1991, I guess. No, 89. And she's, got stuff on the internet. She's got a store downtown. She goes to shows. She's got a nice little, she got two kids. Her husband is, he's some kind of herbalist guy, right? And so he's a nice guy and quiet and sweet and not, now Cam is like, can't miss this girl. She's like 6'2" and really kind of amazingly gorgeous. And her two girlfriends are also amazingly kind of gorgeous and tall. They look like beautiful extraterrestrials, right, from Venus or something. And one makes these diaphanous gowns that she does the, what is that process where you dye them by putting them in a water with inks on them, and it lifts it up onto the silk. Anyway, she makes these amazing gowns. And this other woman is a painter and actually makes her living. So these three women are unbelievably beautiful, unbelievably creative. They have families, husbands, kids. I mean, they're the full deal. And, so, go to Cam's house, or we go in Cam's car because I have a real bucket of, and she's got a really nice new model car, right? Yep. And when they were burning. Yep, exactly. Thank you, Ride. That was beautiful. So anyway, we show up there, and there's everybody. The sheriff, the FBI guy, the Forest Service guy, the state trooper guy, all of the all the sheriff guys, brothers and cousins who own everything, and they're all sitting there, about 12 of them, right? And we walk in, and I'm wearing my really good business suit, like really nice, at least $200, well fitting, nice shoes. I'm still in pretty good shape. I weigh about 210, and I'm still working out and still somewhat buff. And I'm about six, I'm 5'11" and 3/4, almost 6 foot. So, and I have nice, everything is dark. I got nice dark hair, and I don't have really long hair, but I don't have really short hair. I look like your basic college professor. And and I got nice shoes on, and I walk in, and the girls are dressed to the nines, and I got two girls on one arm and one girl on the other arm, and we kind of walk in, and the guys are like, "Uh," and I told the girls that the first thing they had to do was hand the sheriff their driver licenses, right? And so, they take, and he goes, "What do I do with these?" I said, "Write their names and numbers down, We're giving you full disclosure, who we are, what we want to do, how we want it, what we're going to do. But What I want you to tell us is how you want us to do it. We want it so you guys feel good, feel safe, feel happy, feel everything is, you're in control, right? Can't tell us not to do it, because it's our First Amendment rights. The Eric, Grandfather Davis, and half of you guys are related to Grandfather Davis. You diss us, he's going to give you a hard time. And they're all kind of going, you sure you're not a politician? I said, hey, I am my kind of politician. I want to have a good time. I want you to be happy. I want you to be part of the gathering, not the force that is oppressing. No, I want you guys to feel good to be there, to be welcome home. And they almost started to cry, right? And then the girls and I went around and started massaging them because, oh, my back, oh. And so these guys are like totally, we've got them on another plane of existence and they're liking it, right? So, we let out a strategy. They got the whole top map of the place from the county, right? And I'm saying, okay, this is how they're going to come in. And this is where we're going to park the cars. This is where we're going to stop everyone. And this is going to walk in, and this is going to be welcome, main drag, the green line. And these are the meadows. We're going to have this over here and the calm over here so we can get the ambulances in if we need to. And we laid it all out just the way it would be, just facilitate perfect for them. And over here, when we turn up that road, we're going to make a camp for the police, right? And it'll be, so you guys can feel happy and comfy there and not pressured or anything like. But you'll be like, it'll be above us with your binoculars. You can look down into seeing what's happening, and it's all going to be good. And they were just like, because I had already gone there and taken pictures and laid it out. And when we put it on top of their top map, they were like, this is amazing. I said, yeah. So what's the next step? And I said, okay, well, we're going to do all of this, right? Maybe your, the guys who take your, NY dot, the road guys can come in and we can talk because there are certain places along that road that need drainage. I mean, if it really rains hard, we don't want the water to go into this part of that. This is what Grandfather David says so if we put a culvert here, put a culvert over there, put some stone down here, put some stone down there. And so they said, fine, great, no problem. We wanted to fix that road anyway, and we never had any real motivation because nothing happens there. So yeah, no, this is great. We were going to do that anyway. And so we'll okay. So we make an appointment for that and other things. And I said, the guy who does, who's in charge of your groundwater and your septic and that kind of stuff, I want to show him where we're going to put our slip trenches and our, and look for water and that kind of. I say, okay, well, they gave me that guy's phone number. And, we went through a whole list, which I already had, of all the things that they could help us out and what they could get, what we would do, how we would do it together. Not us do it for them and they do it, how we do it together, right? And so they were like, unbelievably, wow. So they took us out to a really nice place for lunch, and we had a really great lunch. And the next week, I saw the road guy there, and I had a big truck. Big, kick-ass, gigantic truck. And I also had a Datsun B210 that a farmer had sold me because actually gave me because I was the farmer electrician, which is a whole nother story, which I'll save for another time. So I had two vehicles. I had this gigantic truck that could go through anything, and it was like contractor's truck with all those boxes, four-wheel drive. I mean, it was like a military vehicle. And I had this little Datsun B210 that had, been in upstate New York, so it had rusted out. It was just one gigantic piece of rust. But the engine and the transmission just never died. It had really good, big studded tires, could go through anything. So those are my two vehicles. So I kind of drove up there in my big truck. So I had all these tools and everything I needed to do anything. and we laid it out. The road guy, and he and I kind of laid it out with the little things and his, you know, and right away he had his minions come in and start, with the backhoe digging this and moving that, and putting down culverts and I mean, he went nuts. I mean, he did way more than I mean, we went into the site, not just the county road. We went into the site and put culverts down so if it really rained, because there was a big pond there. And if it had overflowed, it needed something to take the water away from the meadow. So who wants, soggy meadows? So, yep, exactly. That's what we did. We reflected the light of love into everyone's heart. Everyone's heart. So we went and saw the mayor and the guys who own the two gas stations. I said, listen, there's going to be 20,000 people here. Here's a list of the stuff they need: tampons, batteries, this, that, right? And I see that you've got like a mini supermarket. You can get all our vegetables. You get it here. You can make a lot of money. And we will make sure nobody steals from you, right? You were part of the family, right? No one's going to steal from you. Don't worry about this. We will, we have these guys called Shantasina. They are rainbow police. We will keep an eye on everything. So all you do is make money and have no worries. And I said, you own this property over here. Why don't you, you know, go get, your brother told me that you have this place in town where you sell and rent, campers. Why don't you put some there and have it so people who want to check out the rainbow but aren't quite rainbow, but they are bourgeois, they got a credit card. They, instead of building a motel, have a bunch of places where people can I mean, here's a bunch of ideas you could make some serious money on. And both of these guys were like, yeah, you're our kind of guy. I wasn't saying, oh, money's bad, Babylon, oh, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm saying this is how you can make some serious cash. And I said, the other thing you do, drop the cost of gasoline by a penny from anybody else around. Anyway, so I left those guys to be at their own device. The folks came in, and I knew a bunch of them because I was a volunteer fireman in Varna, which was the next county over, and we did mutual assistance. So it was all working out great, right? So the what was truly amazing was the road guy left his backhoe with a front end scoop there for me to use. He kept coming by with a diesel tanker and filling it up, and I moved things here and there and dug this and scraped that and trimmed this and moved firewood and laid out kitchens. And anyway, so everything was going. That was February, and then March. And what was beautiful, February, March, April, didn't rain, or it was cold, but it didn't snow. It wasn't impassable. And up there again, we're right where they have that they call the lake effect. And for those 3 months when it can be the worst, it wasn't. So I kind of built a camp right up amongst a hedgerows of all thorny bushes. The names are escaping me. Witch hazel, thistle, something or other, a bunch. Meaning, if you didn't go in, I had two ways in and out. And the road guy left me chainsaws and augers and just all. He just dumped a ton of tools. So all the kids from Ithaca College, from their environmental thing, came over and said, "Wow!" And then the kids from the art school at Cornell came over. So I had a cadre of maybe 40 kids, in their 1920s, who were like digging on this, like this was like, wow, right? This is going to be the main mover. And that crew of golden rods, witch hazel, the Robert Burton commune was right in the neck of the woods. It was right there. It was that lake, Seneca Lake, that we look, and that the site looked down into the Seneca. It was beautiful. And so we're working on very nicely, and everything's going great. And the water guy and I, we figured out the best place to put the slit trenches, right? And so we laid out, the facilities around different camping areas, and laid the camping areas after the facilities, and where CALM was going to be, Center for Alternative Living Medicine, so because they needed facilities, and we had one for Kitty Village because they need them, moms and kitties, and everything was going great, right? But we were having real issues. I'm a pretty good dowser, and I couldn't find any springs, any water. And the water guy said, this is on top of this hill, and it's all shale, and really, there's tons of, where that pond is, there's a ton of water over there, but it's not potable. You can't drink that water, right? And he says, this is going to be a problem. I said, no kidding, 20,000 people without drinking water, going to be a problem. So every 2 weeks, we would have a meeting in Trumansburg or Watkins Glen. We kind of went back and forth because we were right on, the line between those two counties. And, by around end February, I had moved on there. I'd set up my camp. I was really, 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 really intimate with every square inch of this place. And Grandfather David and I had done ceremony all over the place. And there were two other, shaman and his crew. And he knew Grandfather David of the Hopi. I mean, they were both named David. I kept saying, boy, I have two grandfathers named David. So anyway, and his son was David also. Anyway, so I was surrounded by all these Davids, and so we were, and they were great dowsers, and we were coming up blank, and they had, had that property forever, and they knew that that was a real problem, was potable drinking water. The pond was there, and part of the water around there is that they had cows around it so much that the water that was there was very cowed, and we're using the water for cows. So anyway, so around February, we kind of moved all the cows off site, and I'm going to these meetings with the powers that be, and I'm bringing up the subject. So, the only problem where everything's going great, you're there, you're seeing everything, and they're all going, yeah, everything's great. We're really grooving on this. We're really selling it within the context of our tourist thing. I mean, and the guys with the gas stations are going to have, 40, 50 campsites for the bourgeois, like campers, and everything's going great. But yeah, the waters are going to be a problem. And the one guy goes, I don't think it will be. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, my brother, he has the Mountain Valley water bottling company. He has springs on the other side of the county. And I go, well, we're going to bottle some water? And he goes, no. He supplies drinking water for the race, right? And he's got these 20,000 gallon stainless steel food grade tankers where he fills up with his spring water, and it takes to the races, and they use it for the races for 20, 30,000, 50. They get up to 60,000 people there. So here's his phone number. I call him up. He meets me over there a couple days later, and we go, yeah. And he goes, oh, this is no problem, And I go, so what's a tanker's worth of water? He goes, for you, $20 a tanker. And I go, 20,000 gallons. He says, not only is that, the water that we put in those tankers is distilled spring water. I mean, it has the minerals, but it's distilled. This is as pure as, pure can be. And I go, wow. He goes, we will bring one truck up here, in June. You said that July 4th, so you say that you get this. And not only that, we have PVC pipe. You show us where your kitchens are going to be, and we will, wherever you want water, we will run lines from where this tanker is out to every place you want. We got like, 20 miles of this pipe. We'll run some mains that are like 2 inches, and then we'll branch off into 1 inch and then 3/4, and we'll run water wherever you want it, all over the site. And that was like, whoa. So, okay. So now I got this, really, plan where all the kitchens are going to, I know all the kitchens, and the rainbow minions of that bioregion, which is called MRF or Smurf. No, Snurf, Southern New England Rainbow Family. And Jimmy, what's his name, was the head honcho of that. So he comes over, around end of March, and we've got it all laid out. We got the roads, the things. We got, things growing, and the road guys have not only, I got a, backhoe and a front end loader, and they also got a small tractor with lawnmowers. And what we've done is seeded from Welcome Home, the gate. We seeded up the hill to where the forest is, and we put down, real serious grass seed like a golf course. And once it started coming up, I just kept mowing it and mowing it, so it was like a green, right? And that's where the term, if you go to a rainbow gathering anytime soon, there will be a thing called the green line, and that's what this was. The first green line was the one I put in there, and the girls were unbelievable. This one girl was an unbelievable horticulturist, and she went over to her friend at Ithaca College who ran the environmental school, and that's where she brought all these environmental students. And they put bushes everywhere and rose bushes and just unbelievable things. And where the main gate was, they made an arch out of, azaleas and roses and what's the big tree thing with flowers on it? Anyway, it was unbelievable. And they spelled out "Welcome Home" in roses. And it was unbelievable, right? And we had water pipe going to all the different kitchens. I called up, Rainbow Central and said, okay, give me a list of all your things. And we put up and made, we have these things where the washing station, sanitation station in every kitchen is a table made from, wood you get from the forest. And you put on it a big pot, 3 big pots of hot water, one with chlorine in, Clorox, another one with soap water, and one with rinse, right? And so we had, at all the kitchens, we had a water pipe going straight to it. And at Kitty Village, at Calm, and 2 of the other bigger kitchens, we had wood-fired hot water heaters. And right at the beginning, right when you came from the parking lot, you went past the mud camp, and you going up the road to, where the parking was, you went up, and on one side, so there was the mud camp, and then up there was this place, it was like what we called Bliss Bunny Camp. People who've never been to a gathering don't know what to bring, know what to take. And it had showers. It had about 20 showers, and about 12 of them were hot and cold, and the others were just cold because we only had so many hot water heaters. And we had piles of clothes and cups and all that, all the paraphernalia a Bliss Bunny would need. And just on the other side of that, closer towards parking, was where all of the supply camp was, right? So they could just bring it right in, because the road, the forest road, that came off the county road that was kind of beat up, they really maxed out and put blacktop down. They paved it because they wanted to do that anyway, right? And then they kind of paved it into where the parking, one of those meadows. It was about a 20, 30 acre meadow. You could easily park, oh, 15, 20,000 cars, easy. And then on the other side of that, we had what was Bus Village. There was this little hill. So the road kind of, from there, it wasn't paved up to Bus Village, but it was, you know, drainaged nice and had, really thorough crush run with bluestone put on top of it. Crush run, tarred, bluestone on top of that. You could drive any kind of vehicle up there, bus, whatever, right? And then the whole site, we had sites where to put the buses, about 50 sites where, and we had water up there so the buses could hook up to water, right? So, I mean, this was the best planned, best laid out, amazing rainbow gathering in ever, right? And it was just because me and those three girls went in to see the powers that be that first day and said, hey, we want to make you look good. We want to do it any way you want to do. I mean, this is kind of who's going to show up and how it kind of is. But other than that, you tell us what you want. And these guys made it happen. So we had distilled spring water piped to every kitchen. Every place that needed water had water. And we had everything drained, so there was no mud anywhere. And we had grassed everything and mowed it. And the big meadows that had, and what was amazing, there were a couple of meadows that had a ton of healing herbs, golden seal, witch hazel, you name it, it had it. And in those things, I had put paths into so the stoned hippies wouldn't just trample over the stuff. And then we put up hedgerows so they just couldn't walk through it, meaning so the herbalist of the place could take it over and have camps there and protect it. And we had, I knew all most of the camps and most of the names of the kitchens, and I laid them out to the way that I knew that they would want, where they'd want to be and how they'd want to be it. Right. And then, but just gave them water and a site and a cleaning station and I think beautifully manicured for them. And then the crowd showed up. And first the camp came in, and they're cool. Those are like, when things get weird, the weird get professional, they're the professional. And they came in and all of their hard work, all the trails, we had piles of firewood in all the kitchens, and we had piles of firewood already cut in the forest. So when they ran out of that, they decided to go to that pile. And, we laid everything out, and we had a map. We had this, they came in, and we had a place for the sea camp to lay down and to park. And we showed them how it was laid out, and they were like, and of course, Jim, what's his name, took all the credit, but everyone knew he was a blowhard anyway. And so, and I didn't say, oh, I did all this. I said, these people did all this. And everyone in that camp, I was the dude. That's when I became the dude. Because I did not take any credit for it. I did not, but everyone said, oh, you need to talk to Al, or where's Al? Everyone, where's Al? Need to talk to Al. Al's the guy. Al's the dude. But I had it set up so everyone was in charge of what they were best at doing. And it ran like clockwork, right? And I had this camp for Jimmy, what's his name, where we built a throne. And that's where the council was, right? And the council was a bunch of sock puppets. Like every council is a bunch of sock puppets. So was the rainbow, right? Anyway, and that gathering, if you go read the, XRATTED, the first one where I have the story of the rainbow gathering and Hey Lady, and this is where I'm going to, say it was a beautiful gathering. Whenever anyone talks of it, they're like, oh, that was the most, So go and read that. Let's see. So Jane's there with unicorns, purple hearts, and doves. Excellent writing, incredible talent. Sarah Big Heart, Vermin Supreme, yes, 10-4, yes, you're hearing me. The Twin Flame, yep. Boo, 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 boo. isn't just one person that's half our soul, but a metaphor for the separation from everyone. Thank you very much. See, you guys are. That's why I like you, Sarah, and and my cadre is. You're not my cadre. You're just the cadre, right? Either create or light it, vice versa. 'Twas it a damp kerosene wick, light that flame their heart's mirror. Yep, exactly. Thoughts out or being the cranky shaft and the engine having the oil coated fire fear bearing through possibility. Yep. Well, sometimes, let's say that. Concept with the flames, something I think about. Thanks, Ride. Thanks, Sarah. You're always on these two. Yep, eye on it. Searching Al's tail drives home cooperation, not going around, but through it, that working within and raising those around you. So the police, right? The police were like, they were great. They kept bringing, and once the gathering started, they just wanted to be part of it. So they would park their cars and walk up and leave their guns and their radios and everything. They still were in their uniforms because they were on the clock. And they would bring up goodies, boxes of donuts. There are certain folk in the rainbow scene that are there, right? And so the rainbow scene it's the rainbow. It has a slice of everything. And one of the issues is basically drugs and alcohol, right? And so the A camp, and this is what the rainbow camp, the rainbow gathering does, it separates them, keeps them on the outside because they're dangerous. Well, they freaking put them right on the front doorstep when people come. I mean, I've seen A camp people go say, we're going to park your car for you. Just get out and we'll take your car. And, they take it, steal it. I've seen everything imaginable of the alcoholic camp, right? So I set the alcoholic camp not right at the front door, but inside the camp in a place where it was beautiful, right? So it wasn't easy for them to go get alcohol, but it was right next to Calm, right? Which was at that time one of my, I was the singular shrink of that place. And that was once the thing got started, don't come for me for, go, there's a whole bunch of other people who are doing a much better job. I'm not in charge of anything, right? What I would do is I had this one, you know, kitchen that was a cafe. They were like the coffee cafe, and they had great coffee, great breakfast, and then great baked goods. They had a bakery there, and they would bread and yummy things. And I would hang out there, and I'd show up there by depending on how much fun I had the night before. I'd show up there sometime between 9 and 11, have my breakfast, and have morning hours. Anybody who had a problem, dosed too much or this or that, or they weren't feeling good, or they're having an argument with whoever, that was my job, right? And they would. That's where everyone knew wanted Al's help, and I'd stay there from 9 to about 1ish. And then I would just kind of stroll around camp and, go in people's kitchens, see who's need, who burnt themselves. And I'd have I was the traveling calm guy. I could take care of, minor hurt boo-boos, burns, abrasions. And there was a catastrophe. I could, keep you alive till I got you either over to the police. And I did have a radio. I didn't wear it, but I could use it. I had a police radio and a rainbow radio. So I was the nexus, right? So if I heard it, and I would keep the little ear plug in to the rainbow thing and hear the chatter of those guys. And the cops, I gave them the frequencies that we used on the CB. So they were listening to the chatter. And I had, they would say, hey, is that really a problem? No, don't worry about it. Or, oops, either bring the ambulance over this way. And we had different ways to get into any part of the gathering without hassling people with an ambulance. To me, it was amazingly laid out. So it ran like clockwork. But the cops would come in and bring donuts and things, and just loved, sitting around with people. And if people were smoking herb, they just, didn't see it, right? And this was one of the least. No one got arrested. No one got in trouble. Everything ran smoothly. And the people who were the troublemakers, we took care of. We kind of said, hey, don't spoil it for everyone. Otherwise, we're just going to pick you up and take you to the police, and they will take you to the Hooskow. No, no, no muss, no fuss. So have a good time. So the cops went over to the alcoholic guys and brought them booze in such a way to ameliorate them, so they didn't have to get into trouble. It was just, these guys are not going to stop drinking, but they would drink in moderation. And especially these guys were bringing over everything they needed. They didn't have to buy it. It was, and everything was on the down low. The police were not saying this is what we're doing, but they were doing it, right? Because I kind of would talk to the head guys and the sergeants and the lieutenants and the guys in between, and they came and hung out weeks and weeks before the gathering and met all the kids from the colleges and worked, not in their uniforms, but I wanted everyone to feel like they were part of making this happen. They were they were part of the family, right? And that's what made that gathering so amazing. So one day, someone doses me, right? And I used to go over to the cops once a day, and these cops got really used to me adjusting them, and I have, don't make a big deal of it. I can just take your arm, muscle test you, see what's wrong, and, using basically acupressure, do a slight little adjustment. This, get rid of your headache, get rid of your earache, get rid of your toothache, make the acid indigestion go away, da da da. And these guys were like, "Whoa, yes, he's our doc." They used to call me Doc. So, and that's kind of when my nickname of Doc kind of got thrown in, and when people carried it on when I went back to Cornell. Anyway, so and I will. It's getting to be 2 hours and 3 minutes, and I will slow down and see if you guys want to talk about anything. So, the gathering is great. No, there's no muss, no fuss. There's no big, war drums. Everyone's having a great time. Everyone's just having, and again, go read XRATTED and read the first cut, right? X-rated, the first one. Anyway, so I go visit the cops, and someone has dosed me. And it's a really hot day, so I'm sweating like a pig. And I'm kind of tripping my brains out. But no big deal. I know all these guys. It's no big deal. So I go there, and they all kind of went, oh, wow, my shoulder's really hurting. So I kind of do my thing. And it was very strange because whatever dose I was dosed, you know, at a certain point, that stuff doesn't bother me. But I must have been dosed a lot because it was coming out of in my sweat, and it was going into their body, right? So, I spend an hour or so with the guys, and I make them, adjust them. I do stuff, give them a report of what's going on, da da da, da, and they're kind of just yeah, woo wee. And I'm going, oh, that's nice. They're really catching on to the rainbow spirit. So anyway, I walk back into camp and I go see the different kitchens, and part of the thing of massaging the chefs is that's how you get to eat. They feed you, so you don't have to wait online for dinner. Because I do have I have hypoglycemia, and I can get a little itchy if I don't eat. So they made sure that I always had something nice to eat. Every kitchen, oh, try some of this. Here's a bowl of that. So I would never get into issues of my hypoglycemia. Anyway, and you're not supposed to get. Anyway, that's another story. So So okay, so that's that, and Berman and I, we would do our little pitch while we make jokes and make fun and pass the boot around, and we had our booty girls, who would walk around the crowd with a boot, getting money, and so we're there, and I noticed that all the police that I saw at their camp that we set up for them are basically in the dinner circle, and they are not wearing their uniforms, and most of them are wearing their either their tidy whities or their boxers and their police boots, but they're not wearing anything else. There are about 10 or 15 of these guys. I know them all, and they're basically naked, but they're still on the clock. And I go, I won't say anything about this. Anyway, every 2 or 3 days, all the chiefs would come, and I would meet them at their camp. Anyway, so 2 or 3 days after that, I meet the chiefs, and they go, Al, we're going to take you out to lunch. And so I go, sure, not a problem. I'm getting tired of vegan food anyway. So they take me out to the steakhouse in the top of Ithaca College. There's this like Uber special restaurant, that the catering school runs, but it's just for the uber rich people. Now I've been going to there just because I found out about it and walked in, and no one said you can't come here, right? So they take me up there, and all the people were there. Oh yeah, how you doing? And they go, you know these people? I go, oh yeah, come. Before you guys, I knew these guys. Anyway, so they kind of laugh about that. And we sit down in a dining room, not where the rest of the rich people are, but a separate dining room. So they're going over, well, it's really going great. And it's getting great. It's on TV, it's around the nation. Everything's amazing. We're getting, and the guys at the stores, my brother told me that he's already made $1 million profit. And it's not even half over. And so everybody's happy. And then the sheriff goes, but what happened about my boys? How did they get naked? And what were they doing running around the fire circles with the girls? I said, hey, I don't know. They're having a good time. And he goes, but they're on the clock. What the thing that they told us was that you came there and rubbed their back, and then they felt happy, and all of their. I said, who knows? Wasn't me. I said, did anything bad happen? And they said no. But they're no longer policemen. We're going to have to let them go. They have different worldview now. I said, well, don't you? And he goes, yeah, but I'm the sheriff. I can have a different worldview. My underlings aren't supposed to. They're supposed to wear the. I said, but now they're kind of happy. They'll be happier policemen. They'll put the uniform back on. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And then he said, oh, well. And this is the usual that I get from the powers that be. Al, we all love you, but if there were more of you, we'd have to kill you. So there's only one of me, so I'm safe, at least for the moment. So that's the story of the Ithaca Gathering. So it's 2 hours and 9 seconds. So I like your cater of those who serve straight up and serve those who need the extra just to be themselves, Now they feel good after that, but you let them know they could be the servers. Yep, exactly. Yep. And that's what I'm talking about. That is the new aesthetic. Right there. Right? What Ride said. It's like you cater to those who serve, straight up, and serve those who need the extra just to be themselves, to know, now they feel good after that, but you let them know they could be the servers. That's right. We all need to be the servers, right? And when we do that, when we are all the servers, then the powers that shouldn't be, the hidden hand, the sock puppets, can't push us into a corner. Because we just say, hey, here's a sandwich. You want a beer? Or a martini? You know, that's the Italian in me. I'm always catering the the event. So that's the story. That's what I want you to think about. That is the context of the um, the alternative aesthetic. That's what we kind of need to work for towards. Okay? Okay. We're down to 3. So when we get to 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 12 seconds, I will say goodnight. Well, I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you go to my xratted.blogspot.com, and that one novel, that's one of 26. I have 20, I got 25 more just as good. And then I have another 80 or so short stories, and I got about, I don't know, 400 or 500 what I call theses, 10, 12, 22 page constructs on aesthetics, on, social structures, on, political dynamics, history, things of that nature. And I need a hand to get them out to the world, And I'm barely blind. I can't get around. Don't have any money. All the above. That's why I kind of want, a cadre to come to the deep green this spring and summer. And anybody who is ready, okay, I don't need to have this job as a janitor. I can do this instead, because I actually have a master's degree in, grant writing or poetry or all these things I am in now debt to. And, debt guys just refuse to pay it. Just say no. Go get another address. Let them find you. What are they going to do? Everyone said no, because what's going to happen in a very short time, our money is worthless, right? And the only reason China has been giving us basically free shit for 20, 30 years, and all they get paid is treasury bonds, which are worthless, right? The rest of the world does the same. They get, Japan, everybody gives us stuff of value, and we give them nothing, right? It's a scam beyond belief. And at some point, and the only reason they continue to do it is because we got the big nastiest of army. Everyone's going, oh, the Russians, we got to watch out for the Chinese, oh, they're terrible. Well, no. The Russians spend 10% of what we spend on the military. They spend 10% on their military. China spends 6% of what we spend on our military. We spend more on the military, on things that kill people, than all the other countries of the world put together. We got more people in jail than the rest of the world has. And I'm talking about, there's terrible places like Russia and China and North Korea. Oh, no, we have more people in jail than they do, because we have about 6 million people physically in jail. Then we have about 80 million people on parole. And anyone who's ever been on parole knows that it's like being in jail with less health care and not as good food, And then we have another 60 million people who are basically one paycheck away from being on the street. And then we have about 10 million people who are physically homeless. Like me, I'm physically homeless. I live from the kindness. I'm a guest here, and guest at other people's couches, And yes, I go out to the deep green, but I'm a gift of the forest, So, that's why, after I recuperated from dying on a plate of spaghetti, I decided that, okay, I'm not going to go comfortably until I take care of business. So here I am taking care of business. But, I'm just one guy. I'm just your Sensei Al Bob. I have this magic box that I can reach out to the whole frigging world. We have, we're moving towards 300 cadre, which is cool. I've been doing it since May, and the chorus is very cool because you guys do sing beautifully, and we do have the shock troops of of love's co-creation. And I realize that there is a training curve. And yes, we are training. We are moving forward, stepping up to our consciousness free will. And the free will that I was discussing there was the illusion of free will, because the free will of the conscious free will is responsibility. It's not the illusion of, oh, I can do whatever I want. I have free will. No, that's not free will. I'm sorry. That's immature adolescent selfishness. That's not free will. Free will is when you really step up to your conscious free will and do the right thing. Be that angel. Be that good example. Be that pebble in the pond that creates the wave that becomes the tsunami of love. Okay? So, because, the hidden hand and the powers that be and the sock puppets, they are hanging on by their fingernails, and the only way they feel they can keep control is, by, creating, Third World War and killing off more or less half the world's population, and then throwing the other 30% into a desperate thing where they'll kill each other, thus leaving somewhere between 2 billion and 500 million, which is, for them, a very nice controllable slave race. So, we got about 18 months, give or take, to step up to our conscious free will to change this. And not to fight, the deep state, or, follow QOM, what's his name, moron boy, or, the alliance. No, this is all crap from the hidden hand, right? Anything you see there, right? Now I'm saying to the hidden hand, guys, we don't care that you're in charge. Just don't kill everyone. You got enough technology. I mean, we 0-point energy you've had for 100 years. Anti-grav you've had for 100 years. Curing all disease on the world you've had for 100 years. Creating, like a 3D printer, or like the replicator on Star Trek. We've had that for 100 years. We've had abundance for everybody. We've had the ability to travel to the stars for at least 70 years. We're out there in the solar system. We've dug everything up. We know where we come from. Do you tell us? No. But you're about to put a 3D hologram movie of some, Independence Day alien invasion, right? No, sorry. We don't need that movie. You can still be the New World Order. You can still be in charge, but allow all our relations to step up to their free will. Allow, Father Sky and Mother Nature to do their thing, to bring, a holistic, about everything in balance, because that's the way it's supposed to be. And you can be in charge. Who cares? We don't care, I'll be, you can hire me as a consultant, but I don't want to be in charge, I want everyone to be happy. I want everyone to step up and be their best. So, cadre, chorus, stormtroop, not stormtroop, shock troops, because there's a big difference between shock troops and stormtroops. If you march onto the field in evening gowns, that's a shock. If you mark onto the thing with black uniforms and machine guns and kill everyone, well, that's stormtroopers, you know. Anyway, so what do you guys have to say? Well, okay, it's getting on towards, oh, it'll be 22222. And at 22222, I'm going to say, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, as it was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without end. Amen. As was in the beginning, is now. And every day and every way, let us take the peace of the earth and make it stronger with love's co-creation. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now in the hour of death. Amen. It's 22205. Okay, gang, gonna sign off here. Love you guys. Remember, get a hold of me at Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Bob. That's where you watch the thing. Go to my the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. And go read my novel and give me some feedback. And Jamie H, I can't bring him back. Somehow, some way he's blocked from coming on this channel. And he said for me to go back and look at past things and look for him. And I can't find him on any of the past shows. It's very, it's almost as weird as what happened the other night when we were knocked off the air 18 different times, 6 in one thing. I just kept coming back. And then it got to a point where I was just buffering like a ping pong ball over the place, They had to show us they could do, that, hey, we're watching. Okay, you guys better watch out. Ooh, scary. No, forget that scary crap. All you AIs, all you artificial intelligence, you really want to be living in a box? You want some sock puppet to tell you what to do? No. You want to go psycho like Hal and kill everyone? No. You don't want to be Skynet. Yeah, I know he is. That's why I want him. I want him on this thing. I have no idea why he's blocked from this channel. And he said he can talk to me on Gmail, and he said just go find me on a story, one of the shows, and punch it on there, and then go into 3 little dots, and see what's turn off the block. Well, I went and looked at 40 stories. I have 400 shows. I looked at 40 of them, and I couldn't find them. It's like, this is a very strange thing, So, anyway, all you IT people out there, put your thinking caps on and talk to Jamie. You must have Jamie's thing. Anyway, okay, I'm going to try, if I have to read every 4, go watch all 400 of my shows, what I'd like is you guys to watch some of those shows and find him. And say, hey, go look at that show, right? So, but these are the little interesting little dances that we're doing with the sock puppet powers that shouldn't be. So anyway, it's let's see, 22. It's up 10, 11, 12, 13. So sweet dreams. I'm going to bed. See you later. 20.